What's going on, Cyclone fans? We're back with another edition of the Nightcap. Aiden is normally doing
You're
these
not
intros,
Aiden.
but his computer is fighting him with difficulties. So I'm Matthias Schwarzkopf, and with me is Levi Stevenson. And tonight we have Mike Luke from PHNX Wildcats. What's going on, Mike?
How you guys doing? Happy to be here, fellow Big 12 mates.
Yeah, I mean, does
that feel good to say?
It feels fantastic to say, to be honest with you. For well over a year, I was hoping that this was going to be the end game for Arizona. And lo and behold, it is. And I think it's a great fit on both sides, to be honest with you.
We've kind of been sitting here and waiting for the whole four corner schools, if you will, to become members of the Big 12 conference. And obviously, Colorado had a lot of smoke on them forever to join the Big 12. And then Arizona was not going to be too far behind. I kind of want to take it back to with you guys on Friday, at least. Thursday night, their meetings were happening. The Arizona Board of Regents were going on. And then Friday morning, everybody woke up and they're like, you know what? The Big 12 is just going to, or the Pac-12 is going to sign this grant of rights and their conference is going to be saved and nobody's leaving to the Big 12. And then everything just blew up. And then all of a sudden, Arizona was in the Big 12. I mean, what was Friday? Yeah. What was Friday like for guys actually covering Arizona?
Well, it's weird because I never really bought a lot of it that anything was going to happen as far as Oregon and Washington staying in the conference. I thought, especially Friday morning, that seemed to me like a negotiation ploy because you don't go into a meeting expecting a $23 million offer with no linear TV concepts if you're Washington and Oregon and look to sign that. That to me was you kind of use the national media a little bit, say that we're looking like we're going to stay together, and lo and behold, within 2 hours, you're in the Big Ten. I also think that it kind of got a little bit of the monkey off Arizona's back as well, because Arizona didn't want to be known for blowing up the rest of the Pac-12 conference. But Arizona, I believe, was always looking to move to the Big 12 just because the Pac-12, in my opinion, was not a viable option as far as the television distribution or the lack of television distribution went. So I think that Arizona was out the door. They applied for the Big 12 Thursday night. So that is certainly something that I think is indicative of where their mindset was. But then you let Oregon and Washington go first and you don't get any blame. So it works out well for both sides.
Isn't it funny how there for a couple of days, like the entirety of the college football landscape now and forever was hinging on Arizona football. Of all Arizona programs, Arizona football. It was hinging on the balance of that for like 3 days.
Yeah, it really was. And, that's why I was really excited that we have a president in Bobby Robbins that likes sports. He's been beat up a lot he's front row and center at a lot of games. He hangs out with the players. But I think the big problem with a lot of the Pac-12 is they got into this situation because you had a lot of snobby presidents that didn't like sports, that, they loved the term the truck stop conference, this and that, which was in actuality, I think, a little bit of their undoing because they're looking at it from a perspective of we're high and mighty, we're above this. And when in actuality, the Big 12 is the one that got the TV deal. You weren't the one that got the TV deal. So how really cool were you at the end of the day, for lack of a better term?
And that the snobby attitude has not stopped from the Arizona State end, which has been a whole thing. Which is funny because Michael Crow, the president of Arizona State, is an Iowa State alum.
The Arizona State dynamic is the Arizona State dynamic in all of this is so fascinating because Arizona State is, first of all, there's a lot of misconceptions here. Michael Crow views this as an academic-only institution. He puts up with sports, but he doesn't really like sports. I mean, when you have your athletic director saying we need to get better facilities in here for basketball, and Michael Crow says, no, you really don't.
We need hockey.
Yes, exactly. It's like that's just not a good look. And this is a guy that rubber stamped Larry Scott, the Pac-12 commissioner that wrote the conference into the ground. And I'm not surprised at all that ASU was the one that was dragged kicking and screaming. He made a big stink in the Arizona Board of Regents about how he didn't want to leave. And that's why there was a lot of politics in play, getting him to come around and say, listen, man, this is better for everybody, for the stability of your program as well. I mean, like I said, I think that he would have signed a $10 million deal with Apple if he could have. But it's a good thing that you had some voices of reason in the room. And Michael Crow, for lack of a better term, is kind of a door jam at times. And he was certainly that.
For a guy having an Iowa State degree, sure is being an idiot. We're at this point in time, we're really not.
I was like, how do we revoke this guy's degree? I'm tired of him. Make him somebody else's problem.
And what's bizarre about it too is that, listen, I'm a proud graduate of the University of Arizona. I know a lot of people that went to ASU, and there's nothing wrong with an Arizona or Arizona State degree, but it's not Stanford. It's not Cal. You don't walk up to somebody and say, I graduated from Arizona, or I graduated from ASU. I mean, they're good degrees, but it's not anything that anybody's going to say is going to be compared to an Ivy League school. And I think that's kind of where, Michael Crow gets kind of caught in his own way right there, because I think he views ASU's academic institution as something that it isn't.
And that's what always threw me off too, is that when you said, especially when you said that he viewed it as an academic only institution, is like, I got to be honest, that is not the first thing I think of when I think of Arizona State.
It's a party school.
Party school. That is 100%. If you leave the state of Arizona, that is 100% of the brand of Arizona State. That's where you go to party.
100%. And a lot of the kids that couldn't get into the LA schools, whether that's UCLA, USC, they end up at ASU. Some of them end up at the U of A. And again, nothing wrong with that, but we need to stop sitting here and acting like these are both top 15, top 20 academic institutions when they're nowhere near that.
Right. Yeah. And that's that. And the snobby attitude, it came from Utah for a long time too, which was, that was deeply annoying, because they've been in a Pac-12. They've been in a Power 5 conference for a decade or less. And now all of a sudden they're a blue blood or something like that.
Right. The whole dynamic is just, like I said, it was just the best way I can put it is these schools misevaluated in a big way where they're how they're ranked, how they're looked at. And, that's why they're in the situation they are. They thought that, when Brett Yormark opened up his negotiations early to extend the Big 12, the Pac-12 thought, well, we'll be able to get something better than 31-7, when in actuality, you weren't going to get anything close to 31-7 after that, because that was the last domino to fall. There's a limited amount of inventory for ESPN and Fox to even begin with. Yep. And so when you've got the Big 12, which is already loaded now with so many teams, you were going to be pretty limited there. And I think they thought that these networks would come begging to get the Pac-12 on there, when, let's be honest here, the Pac-12 is not SEC football and it's not Big 12 basketball. So this kind of is what it is.
Well, and like you alluded to earlier, it wasn't necessarily known for being a conference of super passionate, rabid fan bases.
Not at all.
Or whatever. So, I mean, like there's probably, there's a few exceptions in there that whatever, but for the most part, like, it was always a perplexing argument to me that a Pac-12 without USC and UCLA, easily the two biggest brands in the conference, like without those two, how it was going to somehow keep up with, even though the Big 12 lost Texas and Oklahoma, I never understood the argument for how that was going to keep up, because like the next two biggest brands, I guess if you want to call it, in the conference, the next two like most notable schools would be like Stanford would probably be one of them, and then you could probably pick another one, whatever. But
Stanford and Washington
Washington or whatever. So, but like Stanford athletics, as far as revenue sports goes, is nothing,
right?
And Washington is kind of tucked up in the middle in the Pac Northwest, where it's at least in the Midwest, it's kind of hard to pay attention to Washington unless you're really going out of your way to do it.
And like you said, when the LA schools left, I mean, that's to me when the conference ceased to be the Pac-12 conference. And I never really bought the argument too that, well, nobody wants to be remembered as being the one that destroyed the Pac-12. Well, USC and UCLA destroyed the Pac-12, and I have no problem with what they did, because quite frankly, if you're looking at something or a deal where you can get $30 million on streaming, or you can go to the Big Ten and get $70 million, I don't care about the travel or anything like that. At that point, that's a deal that you have to sign, and that's a deal that you have to take every single day of the week. And again, Yeah.
It's not just an extra 40 million, but it's also further legitimization of your football program because the Big Ten inarguably has a better reputation in football than the Pac-12.
Yeah, no doubt. And, and SC is one of the, 5-7 premier brands in all of college football with that. I mean, that, SC stands on its own, whether SC is good or SC is not, SC is always going to be relevant. And so once you lost SC, which is your charter member right there, I don't know what you're really going to hang on, because keep in mind, Washington's a cool program, but it's not something that is a top 10 national entity. Oregon is Nike, but Oregon is 100% dependent on Phil Knight. If Phil Knight goes away, Oregon goes back to being Oregon before Phil Knight. And so, it just made a lot of sense to me. And then I looked at the Big 12, and the thing about it is that Arizona fans, I think, are far more like the Big 12 fans, in that Arizona's led the conference in attendance in basketball for the last 40 years, and it hasn't even been close every single year. And so, I mean, McHale has been sold out for something like 30 years. Even though Tucson's over 1 million people, this is a ravenous fan base right there that cares about Arizona athletics first and foremost. And that's why I always thought it was a better fit in the Big 12.
I mean, and the common thread in the Big 12, at least, some of the newer members are in larger metros, but as far as kind of the core members of the Big 12, the hateful eight, if you want to call it that or whatever, TCU is the lone one that isn't the show in town. Right. Like that's the only one, where everybody else in the conference, they are priority number one for their towns.
You go to Ames, you go to Lawrence, you go to Manhattan, you guys know that better than anybody. I mean, that's the game in town right there. And again, I think a lot of the Pac-12 schools looked at it and thought, and I'll just use Ames for example. Ames, Iowa.
That was always an interesting thing, because whenever we were talking about with Pac-12 fans, with like Utah fans, of course, or just anything or whatever, is that the argument was that there's a lot, like, that the Pac-12 had a lot better destination cities and stuff like that. It's like, hold on, at least in our conference, if you're going to a football game, you're going to the football game, and that is your plan for the whole damn weekend. You're either prepping for the football game, you're at the football game, or you're recovering from the tailgate. Those are your key stages for the whole damn weekend. And I'm not I'll go to Manhattan because I want to have a good time down there. I'm not trying to see the damn sights in Manhattan, Kansas, or whatever. I mean, if you're judging the quality of a conference based on the destination cities and what you can do besides the football game, you're totally missing the point in my opinion.
You're 100% missing the point. I'll give you an idea. When I travel, like when Arizona goes to play SC or UCLA, generally you get in there on a third, like, especially let's just use basketball trip here for a second. You get in there on a Wednesday night, and then Thursday you got the game, Saturday you got the game, and then you're flying back. You don't have a lot of time to do this stuff. So, people act like, I'm turning down a Hawaii vacation or something when I go to LA, when in actuality, it's not that. And I don't know really any media members or fans, quite frankly, that go there and travel in bunches just so they can see the city. That's always to me been kind of a false argument.
Well, it's such a weird, it is always a weird thing. Cause we're coming from Ames, when on Saturdays in the fall, if there's a football game in town, that is the only thing in town that anybody's doing.
Right.
They're at the stadium, they're tailgating, they're at the game, or they might go home for the game if they don't have tickets, but then they'll come back to the stadium to tailgate again or something like that. So here, and that's how it is at Kansas State and Oklahoma State and Texas Tech and all these or whatever. But so hearing the argument based around what can I do besides being at the football game is totally foreign to me.
I'll give you an example. So my mom, my family was all born and raised in Crete, Nebraska. So, I grew up with Nebraska, coming up in the 90s when Nebraska was Alabama football, essentially.
Right.
And that was the only game in town. Now, again, I was living in Tucson, but when you would go back to a game, that was all anybody cared about. And when you would go to a Nebraska game, and I'll never forget when I want to say it was 97 with Michael Bishop, who was the quarterback at Kansas State at the time, and going to a game in Manhattan, Kansas. It was amazing. Now, keep in mind, it was 70% Nebraska people, but that was just because all the Kansas State people were outside trying to get into the game. I mean, there must have been 150,000 people just surrounding that little area right there. And that to me is what college sports is about. This isn't professional sports. This is college sports right here. It's the environment, it's the bravado, it's the fans going back and forth. And that's what the Pac-12 just never really grasped.
Well, and like in a school like Iowa State too, we don't have a ton of bandwagon fans, especially ones that travel to go to games or whatever. So like pretty much everybody there is an alum or related to or like married to an alum.
I've been to an Iowa State game back in, I want to say 98, Marcus Fizer and Jamal Tinsley. So,
hell yeah.
Yeah. So, I go back, I got respect for you guys for sure.
I tell you what though, since the last time you've been here, I mean, like, especially around Jack Trice is just, it's a totally different place. Basically, if Arizona plays up here in 2024, you need to come up, but do it as a fan. Like I get it if you want to do the press conference, whatever, that's fine, whatever. Right. But like, if you can come up as a fan, because then you can experience you can experience the football's a big deal here, so we're gonna tailgate like it. Experience.
And I got full respect for every single institution in the Big 12 right there when it comes to that, especially like you said, the original 8 right there. It's that's just cool college athletics right there, and it's something that the heart there. It's very much of a heartland type feel to it, in that you galvanize around your school right there, and that's always something I've been a little bit jealous of, to be honest with you.
Well, for the sake of time here, I want to kind of shift gears to the Arizona in totality. But obviously, you got Tommy Lloyd as the basketball coach, you got Jed Fish as the football coach, and seems to kind of be steering the ship in the right way. What is the Big 12 going to get? First off, as a football program? And I mean, we all know the Arizona basketball program, but first and foremost, what are we going to get is the Arizona football program? And by 2024, what do we kind of expect to see going into that fall from that football program?
You get a football program on the upward trajectory. I'm not going to sit here and make it out like it's Oklahoma State or anything like that, but it is a program that is on the upward trajectory. Jed Fish was a really, really good hire. He inherited probably the worst mess in college football, something like a Kansas State type mess back, before Bill Snyder took over. Mm-hmm. 1 win the first year, 5 wins last year, but he brought in a top 25 recruiting class, which is unseen and unheard of in Arizona. And in the 2024 class, he has the top-rated defensive lineman in the entire country in Elijah Rushing, a 5-star kid committed to the U of A. That kind of stuff doesn't happen here at Arizona. It just doesn't. And he's been able to sell a vision to a lot of recruits that this is the place you want to come. You can build your own legacy here, and you could go play for a place, and you can, like I said, you can start this program and get it started right there. And so, again, I'm not going to come in, act like, we're going to come in and be Alabama or something.
UCF fans coming in here think you're going to win 11 games right off the bat.
That's not me, but at the end of the day, I think you can expect a solid 7 or 8 win team that will not embarrass itself, and with a potential to be much better than that. So I think you're getting a program on the rise for sure.
And the thing is that, like, the football conference and basketball conference they're both very similar in that they're incredibly deep, and it's just going to be a bare enough slugfest the whole season. They're a little bit different, where the Big 12 basketball is just so far different universe good or whatever. Whereas football is just it's just good from top to bottom. There's not a blue blood, but there's also no punching bags.
Oh, and it's an impossibly fun conference too. I mean, you watch it just from everything right there. I mean, heck, I got to give your guy Matt Campbell a lot of credit right there. I mean, what he's been able to do right there. Having a top 25 season Iowa State's not easy. I mean, I can speak from that coming from Tucson. It's impressive, but it's a fun conference all the way around, and I'm just really looking forward to it.
I'm sure. I mean, and Arizona fans are like more on the fiery train of we're kind of a basketball school, but the Big 12 conference. I mean, what's the overall feeling for everybody going to bring their basketball program into the
I was
Big
wondering
12?
about that
because
Arizona's been here in the Pac-12 for a long time, but now they're going into where they're slotting in like in the top middle,
right?
But,
obviously Arizona is going to be one of the top programs in basketball for the Big 12, but it's everybody can beat everybody on a single night, and it's just going to be a bloodbath.
Oh my God.
Yeah, people got to be honest with it. I mean, Arizona to me has always kind of been in that. Arizona is not listen, in my opinion, there's 4 blue bloods that have sustained the test of time. There's Kansas, there's Kentucky, there's Duke, there's North Carolina. It's those 4 schools, in my opinion. Arizona's not in there. Arizona's in that second tier. Arizona's in that second tier with your Michigan States, your Louisvilles, your schools like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, it's a great position to be in. But this is Kansas. I mean, let's be honest. This is Kansas's basketball conference right here. You got Baylor that won a national championship. You guys just had a nice season as well.
Tech was in a national championship the year before that.
Exactly. Texas Tech was in there as well. You got Kansas State, which is certainly on the rise right there with Jerome Tang. You're bringing in also a Houston program that I think could be a real sleeping giant. With
Cincinnati is historically a good program.
Exactly. So
everyone seems to think UCF has a chance to be really good at some point.
I think UCF can be solid in football. I think UCF is going to have a very difficult time in basketball, to be honest.
I think so too. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
They're just a clear right now. I guess them and Colorado are now they're just a clear bottom 2 in the conference.
Oh, no doubt. And yeah, for sure. It's just it's just the way it is.
A football school. That's cool. Like there's plenty of good teams in the Big 12. We don't need any more. Like, please stop.
Right. And so you kind of look at that.
Add UConn and Gonzaga to the conference. Like, come on, stop.
Exactly. But if you're kind of looking at it in tiers, I think it's you got Kansas obviously at the apex, then you got about 3 schools, Baylor, Arizona, and Houston that are right in there, and then you got a lot of other nationally relevant schools right there. You got Kansas State, you got an Iowa State, you've got a Cincinnati, like you said. There's just a lot to be excited about in this conference from a basketball perspective and a football perspective.
Oh, I mean, like TCU has been much better they've been good under Jamie Dixon. Yeah, and like Oklahoma State historically has been a pretty good program or whatever. We'll see kind of what they do with Mike Boynton, but that's another program that has been at least solid for a very, very, very
long time. Be able to win at Oklahoma State.
Oh, Mike. Yeah, you can. Well, and that's the thing too with the way Big 12 basketball is that if you looked at the last season, the top of the top 50 transfer prospects in the country of this last offseason, I bet 45 of them went to the Big 12. It was kind of outrageous how many transfers went to the Big 12, but it's just there are so many good, and at least in basketball, the Big 12 has a similar reputation in basketball to what the SEC does in football. It's like if you are a top tier, you play in the Big 12. That's where you play. If you want to test yourself against the best, you play in the Big 12.
The Big 12 to me is kind of the new age ACC, to be honest with you, where, for the longest time you had Duke, you had North Carolina. Those were the schools that you wanted to test yourself again. Now, again, North Carolina's fallen on some rougher times. I think Duke will probably be okay. But right now, the Big 12 is the one that everybody looks at for basketball. And I think Brett Yormark was very smart in seeing that we're going to have a good football product, but the way that we can really corner the market here and make our name is by turning this into the best basketball conference in the country. And that certainly has happened over the last couple of years.
Or the best conference there ever has been. Like, I mean, I think there's probably certainly a pretty good argument to be made that the Big 12 right now is better than the old Big East ever was.
I agree with that entirely.
I mean, and you can make an argument it already was, and now they added everybody, and now they added 4 good basketball schools and 2 other ones that could be good.
Precisely.
Well, Mike, I know I see time's running up against the wall here. I know you got to get running off here to another call, but for the sake of everybody who doesn't know you and who you write for and do your podcast for, just give yourself a little bit of a plug.
All right, you can find me at Iron Mike Luke on Twitter, PHNX_Wildcats. We got live streams 5 days a week. We got, we had almost 1,000 live views the other day with Sheer at about midnight, your guys' time. So, it's just a fun community, and I think it will adapt very well into Big 12 country. I think we're a natural fit, and quite frankly, I speak for a lot of people in saying that we're excited to be joining you guys.
Well, wait till you guys get to the conference basketball tournament, Kansas City. It's magic.
Oh, that's one thing I got to say real quick. Arizona fans out there, and I'm saying this.
Yeah, I want to see that. Yeah, I want to see. There was a comment about that right here. Yep.
Yes, Arizona fans. it is awesome. The Pac-12 tournament is great in Vegas. Totally get that. But here's the deal. You're moving into a better house right now. Don't complain about the dessert that's being delivered right here.
Get to Kansas City first. I mean, literally dessert, like dessert meat is yes. Kansas City or whatever. And you get there, just at least go once before you decide you want to try Vegas.
And again, at the end of the day, what the Big 12 is doing in basketball is working. Guys, this is a great, ladies and gentlemen, this is a great situation we're in right now. Let's not complain about the dessert or the leftover crumbs right there. The main meal is awesome.
And it's funny, though, because 2 years ago, when Texas and Oklahoma left, we were in our chat saying, like, are we going to be in the Pac-12?
Right. We're going to Vegas.
We thought we were going to be in Vegas.
You got it. No, but that's guys.
The last time we went to Vegas, I would say the fans had a plenty good time.
Right.
But
and I'll just leave it on this note. I mean, and that's why leadership matters. You look at Brett Yormark when he took over, everything he said that he was going to do, he did. He said he was going to get the schools a raise. He said that he was going to take care of the Texas-Oklahoma situation, and he was going to expand. Everything he said he was going to do, he did, whereas the Pac-12 leadership just talked and never delivered. So, again, that's a tip of the cap to you guys and your leadership right there.
Well, Mike, thanks for hopping on. And when we get to 2024 and hopefully we have Arizona on the schedule, we need to bring you back on and we'll talk a little bit more.
I'm always here for you guys. Appreciate both of you.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Up here, we're going to get in drinking some Ames Lager. It'll be good stuff.
Fantastic. Talk to you guys soon.
Thanks. That was Mike from PHNX Sports. Mm-hmm. They actually
good shit.
The network that they have is actually really cool.
Insanity of UNLV Rebel Girl.
They have one in Phoenix, Denver, Chicago. I think they're working on getting some more, but you can become a diehard and pay a subscription. You get written content sent to your email, Discord, which here at Wide Right Natty Light, you get the Discord for free.
You do get one premium channel for like $1 a month,
which we have not advertised. So the average person in the Discord has no idea.
Yeah, it's kind of one of the things. If you're in there, if you know, you know.
We are at 890 actual members in the Discord. The goal is to get 1,000 by the football season. We gained 40 since Sunday, so let's keep it rolling and see if we can get this thing to 1,000. So 110 in a matter of 3 weeks. I think it's possible. It's actually going to be pretty easy if we actually give it a whack. I haven't advertised it in a little while, so we need to get on that.
There you go. We'll do that. And honestly, the Discord's been so good because that thing's we started 2020. 2021.
Yeah, it's 2 years old. I think
it's a couple years old now or whatever. It's fleshed itself out really nicely where you see like the same people over and over like that have conversations about different things and new people jumping in all the time.
Yeah, I mean the ones that are active are the active, but I mean it's still. I mean nobody leaves it. It's just that they may not check it quite often.
They may not like hop in the conversations themselves.
The game threads are where it gets really feisty, so that's always a good time.
The game threads are the entire reason we have moderators.
But Matthias will probably be moderating the game threads a lot more this year because he will not be at as many home games this year. So he will be more
tickets, or do you like the?
I'll be at the first one for sure, and I don't know what's going to happen after that. To be determined on every single game after the first game.
Okay. Question: when's the next farming stream? We haven't done one of those in a long time. I think the last time we played Farm Simulator, you and I got logging.
We broke the stream because we were fighting with
logging. we were doing jousting with logging machines.
I still have it. I still got it loaded up, so maybe we might have to fire it up sometime.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't even remember. Is it like farm? Is it like 19? I'm trying to remember. There's a newer one now. Obviously,
there's a newer one. Farm Simulator 21 or
something like. I think they have like a Farm Simulator 24. I think even. Yeah, I have no idea, but. Yeah, he had some good insight though, because I appreciated how excited he individually was for this whole thing, because the vibes coming from Arizona State and Utah the last couple of weeks have been extremely bad, and Colorado I haven't really noticed. I mean, they're back in the Big 12, I guess, but I haven't really hardly noticed because I don't really know very many Colorado fans.
I was watching Mike on the stream with Jason. I'm like, I gotta get this guy on our podcast because he was just like,
he's a firefighter.
I'm like, this guy's
it's cooking. Yeah,
and I was thought about asking Jason to come back on, but then he was also on every single
Jason-
podcast and
Jason's-
radio program in the country.
Jason could big time us now. Like he's surpassed us, and I accept that. It is what it is.
Jason was in with us when we start. He started from the bottom. Now he's up there.
Yeah, he hit the classic wide right light trampoline of fame of stardom, and it just now he's there, much far above us.
You know,
Colorado,
here's another thing about Colorado, and I so in my time since the Colorado made the change to the Big 12 here recently, I listened to a few podcasts on them, and one was the DNVR, the sister site for PHNX, and the other one is it's Locked On Buffs, which they do a daily 20-minute podcast on everything, and they announced the Colorado football program as like Coach Sanders or Prime Time and the Colorado football team. Like that's how they announced their football team.
That's how Colorado announced it.
Their fans do.
So
that's how they address
entirely into Deion Sanders is our entire brand. We just are also the University of Colorado.
And like they have not even played a football game with Deion Sanders as coach. And for all intents and purposes, I think Deion Sanders is probably going to have some success in Colorado.
I think so too.
It's just that
I hate to say it, but I actually do think he's probably going to
recruits are going to gravitate towards him. Now, that being said, they have not played a single game with him as the head coach at a Power 5 level, and they are literally saying in these podcasts, and like this is when I forget to turn off my Spotify and just keep rolling, and I'm driving down the road and I'm just listening to it, and like they talk about it as if they have raised the standard of Colorado football exponentially already, and they have not even played a football game. Also, I just used the big word exponentially, so everyone be proud of me.
Honestly, I'm proud.
In the right context too. So this is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So it is just annoying how they address themselves, and then you add in the Arizona State thing, which Arizona State, their fans are great. The president's a piece of shit, and the Utah fans aren't as bad as originally thought.
Well, the Utah fans changed their tune real fast as soon as they found out that the Pac-12 wasn't going to happen and that they were going to have to go to the Big 12.
I was trying to start crap with Utah fans on Twitter, and they would not. They would not fire back. I'm like, well, you guys are boring. So then I just fired off something for UCF, and then they're all fucking Twitter hoarded.
All you gotta do is just call them Central Florida, and they're like, Central Florida? Do you mean that as an insult? And you're like, you're goddamn right, I do.
Yeah, they're like, well, we haven't heard that one before. I'm like, good, because we're gonna keep saying it.
It's like I'm obviously gonna make fun of you for you guys being particular about that. Clearly gonna make fun of you for that because it's stupid.
It's wild.
It's hilarious because the egos that the Big 12 has added are pretty funny because it's a whole bunch of schools. Previously, was a whole bunch of schools that are just like blue collar ag schools, basically, that are, you know, we are inherently extremely online neurotic fan bases or whatever, passionate fan bases or whatever. But I don't think like on a national scale, any of them are particularly cocky about anything.
Yeah, no,
but then
I wouldn't say like the fan bases now are like it's not like they're horrendous to deal with. Like you can live with what they're saying. It's just that they're proud of who they are, kind of mentality. It seems like. Other than maybe Arizona State, but yeah, it's not so bad now. But
when you were saying that leading up to it or whatever, when it's like, oh, like
other than UCF, I think everybody like 15 out of the 16 is gonna be fun to deal with. I'm not quite sure on UCF or Central Florida yet because like
they might just be.
There are a ton of them,
but
I can't tell if they're douchey or not. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not sold on it either direction. I right now I would probably lean towards I don't really care to deal with any of them right now. I haven't seen enough of the Utah fan walk back to not hate them yet. So I still got Utah fans in the same club as UCF as far as I find these people tremendously annoying. And
I could see that too. And when you know, first impression is always a big thing, and their first impression was not great.
No, it was not.
Yeah, it was. But then I think what saved their ass a little bit was the president, Michael Crow, and the athletic director from Arizona State.
Arizona State took a lot of heat off them.
douchebags on Saturday morning after they got accepted in.
I cannot believe he said, I'm not going to Morgantown. I'll send my thing after they're in the conference.
And
not even before they get to the conference where you can say, oh, I'm shit talking because I want to keep the Pac-12 alive.
And then the athletic director from
the Big 12.
Athletic director from West Virginia, like, just subtweeted the hell out of him too. Did you see that?
I think I did. I think that someone put it on our Slack or something like that. I think I saw it.
Phenomenal stuff.
It's
like
just,
the level of pettiness being tossed around is like
I'm all there. I hope there's a totally out of nowhere Arizona State West Virginia rivalry. I hope there is, because that type of shit is exactly how you start rivalries. Is when someone gets pissed about something.
I want to send Iowa State down to a game at Arizona State and just have Wendy Winterstein just go in there, just like just fucking like on her high horse. She's like, "What up, bitches?" Like I would
take to play there and just demolish Arizona State, and then Wendy Winterstein can just give them the double bird thing.
She like
out of stadium.
When Wendy walks out in the midfield and plants a flag in the middle.
Plants a flag at midfield like Baker Mayfield.
She's like, "Fuck this place." Go back to the games.
Oh my god! And it's funny because like I've seen Arizona State fans apologizing for their.
Oh, they hate him. They hate the guy.
They hate the guy. It's
but when you look at all their academic, like what's their endowment? That's the thing. Like for whatever reason, do they have a med school there?
I believe so.
So like for whatever
Arizona
reason,
State's endowment is $1.4 billion.
Ours is like 1 point something.
Ours is right in that same neighborhood.
Billion, yeah. So they're not even that.
Right, 1.44 billion. We have a slightly larger.
So they're not anything special in endowment.
No, like the idea of them being like sort of academic powerhouse is fucking nonsense.
Get out of here, dude.
All I think of with Arizona State is that's a party school. That's exactly what he says. Like I've never thought of Arizona State as anything other than that. I certainly don't see them as any sort of academic powerhouse.
What's I know it's some astronomical. What is Stanford's endowment?
Oh, it's like $6 billion or something. It's humongous. Stanford's endowment is
not that it really matters to anything.
37.8.
Yeah, there it is. That's what it was.
some heinously huge number.
Yeah. Like why? Where? How? What? Where did you find this?
In what planet? On what universe are you in the same category as Stanford?
And I know Stanford football has been a little bit down recently because David Shaw kind of went on the decline a little bit. He got fired, and then
Stanford's been good twice, and that was with John Elway, but in the 80s, and then with that run there with Andrew Luck and Christian McCaffrey. That was that run there.
But they were steady. It wasn't like anything crazy. Like they were like 10-win program year to year. It wasn't like they were
like a bowl team.
Yeah. So I'll call that okay. But their entire other, like the Stanford women's basketball team, really good all the time. The men's basketball programs had a flash in the pan every once in a while. But it's the Olympic sports, falling at swimming, all this other stuff. They have won the Directors Cup like a bajillion times. And here they are.
It's always between UCLA, Stanford, Texas, and like one other school.
And here they are sitting on the edge like, oh shit, like we have nowhere to go.
Well, I honestly think Stanford does not give two shits about their football program.
They don't.
They don't have to or whatever. Like they have to. Well, and the thing is that they're fine. Cal is the one that's in trouble because Cal built a stadium a few years ago, and their stadium has a 100-year mortgage on it that costs them $18 million a year right now, and then eventually doubles up to $36 million a year. They are so far in debt, it's crazy. They cannot afford to not be in a conference because they have to get some sort of TV payout to pay for the damn mortgage.
At what point did somebody look at that and say, I have $100 million or a 100-year mortgage. This is going to be a great idea. I'm going to sign this paper.
Sounds like about as good a good idea as Florida State trying to use private equity to fund their athletic program.
They are going to be the football program known as the LIV Florida State Seminoles.
Yeah, they're gonna have a bunch of
Saudi Arabian backed
Saudi oil money is gonna be
Saudi oil.
Tallahassee.
Yeah, we got the Indians and the Saudis working together.
great.
If that actually did happen though, like if the Saudis like gave money to Florida
If the
State,
Saudis actually bought into the Florida State,
the Indian tribes out. They'll back out and say,
Seminole,
give us our name
what
back.
we call the Seminoles.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'd be called something else.
That's going to start something juicy.
That'd be an interesting one. But like
but realistically though, if they go through with this, private backed from whatever entity it is.
I think I'm trying to remember. It was a big one. I can't remember what it was, but
either way, it is open. It is going to open up another can of worms of this college football can of worms that keeps getting opened with something new, whether it's realignment, NIL, now private backed football teams, where it's going to be a problem and it's not going to be great.
Well, I've been hearing a lot of doom and gloom the last couple weeks about all the reasons that college football is going down the shitter and stuff like that. It's like, I don't disagree with any of that. Like the fact that a college football program is actually considering funding their athletic department with private equity, like people buying actual like shares in the football in the athletic department, like get that. But I keep hearing how like, oh, this is terrible. How could the Big 12 do this and stuff like that? Like, I'm sorry. If you're gonna list out the most guilty parties in order from most to least guilty, the Big 12 is not in the top 3. Like, it's just not. The SEC is number 1, period. And then it's Big 10, and probably then just individually the University of Texas. Like, just there are so many factors in this. The Big 12, all it did was did what it needed to do to survive, and that's it. And you can't really blame them for that at that point, because in the current Big 12, which schools would have an actual shot of, if let's say the Big 12 fell apart, which schools would actually have a shot at landing in the Big 10 or the SEC? I mean, maybe Oklahoma State in the SEC, Kansas in the Big 10. Other than that, most of the schools in the conference are going to get screwed. They're going to end up in the G5, and that's not a remotely good outcome for a conference built on schools that are in towns of 50,000 people plus students or whatever, where they're relatively small towns. And you can't, if those programs suddenly take a tumble because they fall into the G5, you're not talking about just a contraction of the football program or of the athletic department. I would say when you're talking about an economic impact on the entire town. And so the Big 12 didn't just have football programs to protect. They had entire cities and regions to protect economically, because Ames probably falls on a little bit, like, not, I don't say falls on hard times, but Ames probably takes a hit if I would say football.
Oh yeah, for sure. Falls
into the G5 and then kind of just becomes an afterthought. Ames takes a hit. Stillwater takes a hit. Manhattan takes a hit. There's,
as a former resident of Ames all year round, the life when college is non-existent, the places struggle to have people inside them and working. So yeah, that would wipe out all the economic development that Ames has gone through here in the last 5 years. A lot of that wouldn't be happening without all that going on. So
that's why it's you probably going to feel bad for Oregon State and Washington State, because especially Corvallis is close enough to Portland where they've got enough feeder money there, but like Pullman is next to absolutely nothing. Pullman is not close to.
Here's the thing, and this is me being a heartless bastard, but I keep seeing these people talk about how they feel bad for Oregon State and Washington State. And in some regard, you do. But if the shoe was on the other foot, would they feel bad for us?
I'm with you.
No.
They would not give two shits if we
kill or be killed is my mentality. And if some poor soul in Oregon and Washington, like, okay, look at the grand scheme of this. Washington State sucks at everything.
Yes.
They've had a good stretch in football with Mike Leach, and then a couple years after that, here making 2 bowl games after Mike Leach left. But regardless, past that football success, they've had some prior to Mike Leach too. But basketball is a piece of shit. Women's basketball, you don't even hear about Washington State. Any other sport of that, Washington State, nothing. Oregon State, basketball sucks. Women's and men's. Football has had some decent years. They won 10 games last year. They appear to be kind of a front runner in the Pac-12. They aren't good at anything. Their stadium, literally before they started
baseball
running.
is the only thing.
Oh yeah, baseball. Good point. But their football stadium would held not even 40,000.
Yeah, no,
they started renovating. Now it's going to be plus 40,000, whatever it is. There is nothing special about Oregon State and Washington State.
No,
there's no history. There's no Hilton Coliseum. There's no rabid fan base that follows these people around. Yeah, Washington State likes to drink beer. They show up to some events every once in a while. Whip-de freaking do. I don't care. I do not feel bad for them because their fans 2 years ago were rooting for our impending death.
Yeah, well, and the thing,
why should I feel sorry for them?
I don't. That's why, and I don't think Iowa State is in the same category as Washington State was, especially because Iowa State has been nationally competitive in multiple sports. I mean, we have, or I don't know what's called the football program. I think we're good. I have no idea or whatever. The basketball
program, Cubs won.
Yeah, the men's basketball team's always good. The women are always good. Iowa State has nationally competitive programs on a regular basis. So yeah, we're from a smaller town in a less populated state, but especially the basketball programs both are very nationally relevant programs, and the football, I would argue, is working its way up to being nationally relevant perennially or whatever. So, I mean, to me, even the argument, I don't think there's a lot to the argument that even Iowa State is on the same level as Oregon State and Washington State, because they're just not. Iowa State just has so much more consistent success than both of those two. And, like you just said, 2 years ago, fans from those schools were rooting for our death. Now, partially, they were doing it out of their own self-survival because they wanted to dance on the graves of the Big 12 because that was what was going to keep the Pac-12 alive. And now it flipped around. But
I think I could get on a Memphis train if they actually made some changes with things, but they're so far away from changes, it's not even funny.
No fucking way. Nope.
I don't even think about it.
They're decades away from being remotely ready for a Power 5. The football stadium is getting renovation now, but the Liberty Bowl in itself is just it's just an overturned toilet. The basketball team is only relevant when they can cheat, and Penny Hardaway is his own thing, but who knows if he stays there forever, if he keeps his job forever or what. But if you're just like Colorado, you need to have a reason to bring a school to a conference other than a coach of one specific team.
Yeah.
And Penny Hardaway is not remotely enough of a draw for Memphis. Deion Sanders by himself is not enough of a draw for Colorado. Colorado being a legacy Big 12 member helps quite a bit.
When you refer to Colorado, you need to start doing it properly. It's Deion Sanders in Colorado.
It's the University of Deion Sanders.
Yeah, University of Deion Sanders. I still can't get over how they talk about it. You should listen to some of these podcasts if you get bored sometime, and you will be shocked how they refer to this football team. It is nuts. And I would do it before the season starts. Because once the season starts, they'll probably get, when they play TCU the first time, they're going to get their teeth kicked in. And they'll be like, oh, wait, we're not as good as we thought. So if you guys got time in the next 3 weeks, listen to these podcasts. It's called Lockdown Buffs and DNVR Colorado Buffs. It's just the way they refer, some of the stuff, they are good podcasters, don't get me wrong, but just how they refer to this team with Deion is just blowing my mind.
Yeah, it's whatever. Colorado's not going to be competitive right away. They're just not.
I also didn't really envision me blowing up about Washington State and Oregon State in the middle of an Iowa State podcast, but here we are. Yeah, I'm just sick of. I'm done.
I'm tired. I am tired of the Big 12 being villainized for dancing on the graves of the Pac-12 when that was literally what they were trying to do to us 2 years ago. Is it bad for college football? Probably. Do I give a shit right now? Not really.
Nope.
We
are literally creating, in basketball terms, we're creating the NBA of college basketball. That's what I was going to say. That doesn't make any sense because there's the NBA. Anyways.
That's dumb. If you look right now at the Big 12 basketball,
we're creating a basketball product that is better than the NBA G League.
I'd be interested in hearing the argument for that. But I mean, if you look at it, compare in football, SEC, it's SEC, and then there's a gap, and then there's a Big 10, and then there's everybody else. or whatever. Like at least that's how it's perceived. The actual, the actual gap between the SEC and the rest of the college football isn't really that big. There's a little bit of a gap, but it's really not that big. The gap between the Big 12 and everybody else in basketball it was already pretty big, and now it's gotten bigger somehow. I mean, Colorado and
the thing that made me think of
UCF are the only programs in the conference that are historically not great.
The thing that made me think of the basketball reference when I said they're like a product that's gonna be better than the G League is I'm thinking about this. One, there's gonna be more viewers on the Big 12 basketball scale than there is G League. That's just because of the TV model that there's always the NBA then the G League. That's just how that goes. There's no way around it. But Brett Yormark said he spoke with he does the games with Gus Johnson on Fox. He played quarterback at Colorado. Why can't I think of his name? Joe Klatt. On his podcast, basically, he went on this. It was like 2 minutes long when he talked about this portion, but on how he is working with Adam Silver currently to develop marketing and all this other stuff for basketball on a global scale. So and that's probably part of the reason why we're seeing the Mexico City stuff. But I mean, I don't think it's going to go as far as like the Big 12 playing a basketball game in London. I say that now, which tomorrow they could announce that, but I doubt that's going to happen.
No.
But
I
think
feel like them playing a game in Toronto or something like that because basketball in Canada
there is going to be such an emphasis on growing the brand of Big 12 basketball just because football is going to take care of itself. You have somebody like at TCU, you have somebody who's going to play in the college football playoff. That brand creation is going to take care of itself. Now, basketball, you can market it in 30,000 different ways, and he's going to do it that way because he is going to sell the rights of basketball separately from football the next go around. And with that money coupled, I think that those numbers will be not that far behind the SEC current numbers that are now. Now, obviously the SEC numbers are going to go up the next time, presumably. But the Big 12 numbers in total, when you couple the two different deals that he'll do together, is going to gain some serious cash. Also, don't know how I got to that point, but we're here.
It was a long and winding road, but we made it. But yeah, we probably can wrap this thing up.
Yeah, so next week we'll kind of be back on the realm here because
we might have Aiden back next week.
We are officially next week. We are 2 weeks away from college football season. Actually, 2 weeks away from the actual first game week that we will be producing content out. You will start to see game or position previews next week
on Monday,
and some of our season predictions. So next week on this show, we will start discussing. Probably start on the offensive side of the ball. The week after that, we will go. I think I gotta look at the calendar here. I gotta make sure I'm on the right weeks. So yeah, next week we will be on offense. We'll do defense. The following week after that, and then the week after that will be game week. So we will preview you and I. And I'm going to guess we're not going to know a starting quarterback by then either. I'm going to guess we will not know a starting quarterback until the first snap is taken in the game. Well, but I do know they are splitting reps right now. So
yeah, it is a dead heat between Rocco and JJ, and I'm here for it. Whoever wins out of that, I'm totally comfortable with either of them playing.
And hopefully we know next week maybe some NCAA suspensions on.
Well, I would think that they'll release a depth chart at some point. Maybe.
I don't know.
I have no idea. But
that's usually game week, though.
I thought they usually release a spring one. Or not spring, but like a fall camp one. But
nope.
Maybe not. Maybe we'll just get one the first game week.
And even then, it doesn't matter because it never holds true.
Yep, pretty much. Everything, all information that Matt Campbell releases ahead of the game is a lie.
Or you think Matt Campbell lied during their gender reveals, for their kids, or pregnancy announcements, no, we're not pregnant.
I got to be honest. I feel like Matt Campbell probably didn't have gender reveals for his kids.
I bet he did.
I bet he didn't. There's no way. He's not a gender reveal.
He was too busy. He was too busy devising a plan of what not to release for
right.
Toledo football at that time.
Yeah.
Nah, my wife's not pregnant. She's
My
just
wife's gonna be
she's
off
dealing
work
with a
for-
hamstring injury.
My wife is day to day at work for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Day to day equals dead in Matt Campbell lingo.
Yeah. If someone's actually out for the week, they might be dead. And I remember, was it like last year? I think it was last year. I can't remember who it was. I think it was it Cartavius Norton?
Yeah.
Yeah. We kept getting the day to day thing, and Randy Peterson tweeted about it. He said Cartavius Norton's listed as day to day or something like that. And I replied with the main account and said, so he's dead, right? And then Randy replied or quote tweeted with, no, it says day to day on the injured list. And I was like, why did you clarify that?
Case in point that Randy is too old for this.
Why did you clarify that he's not dead?
Yes, we know he's not dead.
Oh my God, Randy! I'll never forget. He's also the only reporter that followed. He was one that followed our fake recruit that was just the clone cone machine recruit that we recruited. That we like created a Twitter profile for and everything. Randy Peterson followed it. Sure,
clone cone machine. But did you? I won't. Some Cyclone fans like were attempting to create fake recruits for like the Hawkeye recruiting coordinator to follow, and they're gonna try to like pump him up.
I do vaguely remember that, but the clone machine will always live on in my brain. That was a weird random prank that ended up being kind of funny.
The Dominic Orange could probably pass off as a clone cone machine. He's a big boy. He
is. He's a less big boy than he used to be.
Thoughts on the clone cone recruit? Well, he was a 2-star athlete. He didn't have much variety in the flavor of his game.
Great size.
And yeah, I mean, he had great size, but he also was very underwhelming, and he just didn't really step it up a lot.
Went to the transfer portal. And
he was leaving a lot to be desired. Let's just put it that way. That's all I got.
I can't. It's ice cream. How could you possibly hate on ice cream? Like, yeah, should it have flavor? Yeah.
Again, let me start from the back. The top.
No. We're done.
Do I look like I hate ice cream? No.
There's a lot of things you look like, but like you hate ice cream is not one of them.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I don't hate ice cream. You just hate
on ice cream.
I just tired of the fact that clone codes are the greatest thing in the world, but it's just
ice cream.
Ice cream.
Ice cream is one of the greatest things mankind's ever created.
Leaving.
I'm sorry. You know what? You know what? I don't your argument against clone codes makes.
I don't hate ice cream.
It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It is ice cream. I don't care if it's got flavors in it or not. That's just you know what? It doesn't make any sense.
What's your favorite type of ice cream? Flavor of ice cream?
Like just to have it, or like is it have toppings on it? Because that changes the.
Do whatever you want. I don't care.
If it's just going to be like, if I'm just having a bowl of ice cream, I like strawberry. I'm a big strawberry ice cream guy. If I'm going to get like,
I do like
strawberry or pecan praline or praline.
See, that's what I'm like. I'm upset about because I love strawberry ice cream. You have strawberry ice cream in a clone cone.
That would be
that's
a fair complaint. Is that it should be strawberry ice cream. I don't know what you make the yellow. I guess.
Yeah, see, it's tough. But
lemon, maybe just like lemon sorbet, like you do strawberry with lemon sorbet.
Mint chip is pretty good stuff.
Fuck mint chip. It's way too minty. It's way too minty.
I like mint chip.
I'm not trying to eat toothpaste. I'm sorry. It's just not.
If mint chip. Oh, there you go. Mango. Yes. Let me tell you about strawberry and mango. No. So
mango.
You go to Mexico on the all-inclusive resorts. They have a thing called mango tangos, and it's strawberry and mango. It's like a drink. I'll call it a drink. It's like a slushy. Basically, you drink like 70s in the pool. You don't feel drunk until you step out of the pool. It's quite exhilarating. Anyways, delicious. You have a mango tango clone cone. Come on now, let's go. Put some booze in it and let's roll. There's your new clone cones, baby. Hire me.
It's almost as dumb as your take on prime rib. It doesn't make any fucking sense. It's just
don't get me started. Mango tango.